Title: Mary the Orphan. Once upon a time, in a small, quiet village, there lived a young girl named Mary. Mary was an orphan. Her parents had passed away when she was just a baby, leaving her all alone in this world. She had no memory of them, and the only thing she had as a keepsake was a faded photograph of her parents. Mary grew up in the village orphanage, where she was cared for by a kind-hearted woman named Miss Rebecca. Miss Rebecca had a warm smile and a heart full of love, and she treated all the orphan children as if they were her own. But Mary couldn't help but feel a void in her heart, a longing for the parents she had never known. As the years went by, Mary became a quiet and introverted girl. She spent most of her time reading books and tending to the flowers in the orphanage garden. The garden was her sanctuary, a place where she could escape from the loneliness that often consumed her. One day, as Mary was tending to the roses, she noticed a stranger passing by the garden gate. He was a tall young man, with a long, flowing black hair. His eyes twinkled with kindness and love, and his voice was gentle as he greeted Mary. "Hello, beautiful young lady," he said, with a warm smile. "My name is Mr. Richard. I'm new to this village, and I couldn't help but admire your beautiful garden." Mary was taken aback by Mr. Richard's looks. She had never spoken to a stranger before, but something about him made her feel at ease. She introduced herself, and they began to talk. Mr. Richard told Mary about his own life, his travels, and the many adventures he had experienced. As the days turned into weeks, Mary and Mr. Richard became close friends. He would visit the orphanage every day, and they would sit in the garden, sharing stories and laughter. Mary felt a connection with Mr. Richard that she had never felt with anyone else. He filled the void in her heart with his presence and wisdom. One evening, as they sat under the starry sky, Mr. Richard turned to Mary and said,
"You know, Mary, I've traveled to many places and met many people in my life, but I've never met someone as special as you. You have a heart full of love and kindness, and I believe you are destined for greatness."
Tears welled up in Mary's eyes as she listened to Mr. Richard's words. She had never felt so valued and loved before. She realized that she didn't need to search for her biological parents to find a sense of belonging. She had found it in the friendship of Mr. Richard. Years passed, and Mary and Mr. Richard continued to share their lives. Mary grew into a strong and compassionate young woman, and Mr. Richard remained a source of wisdom and guidance. They became inseparable, and the villagers admired their unique bond. Then, one fateful day, Mr. Richard fell seriously ill. Mary nursed him with the same love and care that he had shown her all those years. As he lay on his deathbed, he took Mary's hand and said,
"My dear Mary, you have brought so much joy and love into my life. I want you to remember that you are never truly alone, for you carry the love of your parents in your heart."
With those words, Mr. Richard passed away peacefully, surrounded by the flowers in the garden that he had come to love. Mary was heartbroken, but she knew that she had been blessed with a love that was truly unique and special. In his memory, Mary continued to tend to the garden, and she shared the wisdom and love that Mr. Richard had bestowed upon her with the other children at the orphanage. She became a pillar of strength and kindness in the village, and her story of love and friendship with Mr. Richard was passed down from generation to generation. And so, the story of the orphan, Mary, and the kind stranger, Mr. Richard, serves as a reminder that love and belonging can be found in the most unexpected places, and that the bonds we form with others can fill the voids in our hearts in the most unique and beautiful ways. Questions: who is the main character of the story, and what is her name? What happened to Mary's parents when she was a baby? How did Mary feel about her life in the village orphanage? Who is Miss Rebecca, And how did she treat the orphaned children? What did Mary do to escape her loneliness? How did Mary and Mr. Richard first meet? What were Mr. Richard's final words to Mary before he passed away? What made Mr. Richard different from other strangers Mary had encountered? Morale lessons. True friendship and love can come from unexpected sources. Strength and resilience can emerge from the bonds we form with others. Even in the face of loss and loneliness, one can find belonging and purpose through connection with others. The end.